Um, there are various issues, and there are various ways we can deal with any particular topic, and so is with the caste. What we will do in this conversation, because this is quite an intimate audience, this is my, I think, 16th or 17th talk, and so many times I spoke at universities or public functions like BIC. In the bookstore, I only spoke once in Ahmedabad at Crossword, and now I'm speaking here. And I think it has its own fun because you are surrounding by books, the ambience, the energy is different, and also the hope is that there will be more conversation around these walls of books, where we don't have walls of bricks and dead materials, but these are lively ideas who can sometimes be rebellious and sometimes make you emotional, sometimes make you happy, sometimes make you cry, smile, laugh out loud. These are the various emotions these pages carry, and once we put ourselves into them, we become part of them. And it's this emotion that we really need to develop. And I think the text has that ability to do that. It invites you, and it invites you in various ways. We have different styles of writing, but many times it becomes, when you are part of the story, you are part of a discourse or part of a thinking, you would like to be the co-passenger of that journey, be it a character, be it an idea, be it an academic discourse, or even with the author's own shortcomings, you would like to still be part of it. And I think that is what we need to have or develop an affinity towards our other people, the same way we can relate to our other texts, where we immerse ourselves into that. Unfortunately, many times we fall short of treating other human beings the way we would, for example, as readers would do with our text. We divorce ourselves from the social relations of a live human being who's next to you, but we can develop the same affinity with some ideas that are presented in the book. And I think that's very telling. It is because the fictional or non-fictional narrative is playing in your mind, and that's how you're dancing through. And sometimes you are anguished, sometimes you are depressed, and sometimes you just want to get out of the situation, and that's the mind game. And any book, if it pushes you to be discomforting, is something that book should keep continue doing, because the issues are so real. The reason you are uncomfortable is because you are not exposed to these things, and two, perhaps you are not willing to engage with this proactively. That's why it's uncomfortable, right? When we talk about, for example, the patriarchy, the kind of oppression males conduct upon female, and if it's a text, for example, if a female reads that text and a male reads that, just a very crude example, a male might feel uncomfortable, and they might, if it's a direct text that talks to their everyday oppressions upon women folks. And so there is a reference that we inadvertently make to ourselves, and that uncomfort comes from, there is a lot of wrestling with ideas. We are fighting. It is true, it is not. Am I doing this? Maybe I'm not. There are various ways we are trying to tackle. But same text, let's say, read by a woman who has had that experience, for her it might not necessarily be uncomfortable, because maybe it's a naturalized experience. That's how they have been undergoing since they were born. So similarly, in the texts that we read, whichever genre it is, if it's making us uncomfortable, I think it is an opportunity for us to expand our two things. One is lived reality, and one is imagined reality. We all live in imaginations. We have certain imaginations, and in those imaginations are so important because they will help us to not only develop our footing on certain things, but imaginations are wild, and they need to be wild. They need not be confining. And if you can imagine wild, that means you have at least liberated your mind. And that's why from childhood, the texts that we are given are usually wild imaginations. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. It is trying to imagine this wild. There is a star, and then it's relating to and then the Johnny Johnny yes Papa, the way he did is Humpty Dumpty. I mean, I'm talking about English references. Of course, there are various vernacular references we might have in different poems. So when we are dealing with lived and imagined reality, and then we exercise a form of discomfort, and when we are thinking, the cognition of our mind is actually tackling and battling with us every now and then. And I think this is what happens in our daily life when we deal with the question of caste. It is imagination. We are battling about it, and then we are trying to comfort or get discomfort about when it hits us on various levels. And this notion of caste is like engaging with a reality that is too imposed as well as that is accepted. Someone is imposing on you and someone is accepting it. Right? And it is not the people who are oppressed are accepting it, but the people who are oppressing are accepting this as a given reality. There is no resistance, there is no fight back. And in current times, we have no tools. When I say tools, I mean to say intellectual tools to counter that. If a child, like Ananya was talking to me about a story, 8th grader who is trying to do a project on discrimination against caste as part of an extracurricular activity. Now that child is curious to fight and curious to tackle this issue, but we have not provided enough tools to deal with this issue. And because of that lack of armory, it becomes almost a easy excuse to say, let's not deal with it, let's kind of move away or stay away from it. And because of that, even if we become good human beings, or at least we strive to be good human beings, we continue to be incomplete human beings. And the incompleteness comes because you are not accepting other human beings as fellow human beings, because you are not fully human yet. And the people who are not fully grown in their mind, in their soul, and in their heart will always find lesser in other people because they do not have that. That's what caste system has done. The people with privileges of caste have not had the audacity or courage to think themselves beyond their caste or think themselves under their caste. They have always tried to limit themselves because they themselves are not complete. And because they are not complete, they have imposed their insecurities upon other people, and thereby calling them unmeritocratic or calling the people talentless. Or the same happens with men. When men talk about women, they talk they are weak people, they always cry. All these emotions, the repressed emotions that men have, they impose upon women to tell them, you are actually responsible. It's almost like if you see if you're walking on a street and if you see someone like a dog coming and almost going to bite you, you will react in a way that you're also scared, but also you're imposing your scaring on that so that he or she might at least go away. We react in that kind of everyday survival mode. So in India, almost every one of us, and more so the people belonging to the oppressed caste, are living their life on a daily basis. And I think this is a very, if you romantically put it in philosophical sense, this is what everyone should do. We live every day. But here the idea is they're escaping death every day. And the death is human structural impose. There's two levels of oppressions that they are imposing upon. And we will continue to live our life without even trying to take control of these issues completely. The reason is we have not been given those tools by our parents, by our society, and that's why we always resort to constitution as the available tool. Because there are not other tools, and that's why my interest is, or my desire is to look beyond constitutional tools where we can live in a harmonious society. And we don't need legislations, we don't need codes of conduct, we don't need we don't need articles to tell how to behave with other people. It's a normal human code of conduct. We just need that. And I think India is an immoral country. It is a very shameless country which has no passion of equanimity. It doesn't think of egalitarianism as something to be an exercise. It is very difficult, and that's why, because of the immoral character, they reproduce immoral, because of the immorality, they produce immoral characters in the society, which becomes the paragons of whatever India looks like. That they could be your political leaders, they could be your religious cult leaders, and they are across genders, male, female, both. Because our immorality is highlighted by someone and just trying to comfort us that you are immoral, but you are still good. And this kind of discourse is provided to us through various religious expositions, through various babas and various sadhvis, whatever their names are, or they are provided by the people who give provocative speeches of how to live a good life, that self-help kind of people. What they are not doing is they are not trying to confront the reality. The cancer is there. They are just applying a lotion on it. They are not trying to remove the tumor. And I think we are living with that tumor in our souls. And that tumor is growing day by day. And at a point, it is growing that it is going to affect you, and it is affecting you daily. We don't realize that. The caste tumor has been part of our upbringing. It was given in our birth. And unfortunately, we don't have enough surgical tools to remove it. We need to find out what are those. And one could find that in literature. One could find that in activism. One could find that in various government, non-government resources to fight by. There are various material, but also some people find it in religion. They try to find that maybe this is an answer. So we are trying to struggle. Now, why do we have so much desperateness in our country? Why do we have so much poverty in our country? Why do we have so much of a pain that it's a shame that we have $1 million worth of temples almost in every district. They are super rich, but the district administration of city is poor. How oxymoronic it is that the people outside temple are begging for food because they don't have anything else to eat, while inside they are garlanding the stones and they are sitting on heaps of accumulated wealth over generations. These are the kind of realities we are not willing to confront, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to just see what comforts us. The question of caste is not a comfortable question. It's an uncomfortable reality. And unless we are willing to be vulnerable, and being vulnerable is to open to the self-criticism, we won't be able to reach to the next part of the bridge. We will still, live in this fictitious notion of how do we tackle this. When we deal with various issues, everyday issues, everything we do in India has a caste angle to it. We just need to find out how effectively it is manifested, how effectively it is hidden, how effectively it is open. But at the end of the day, it is a caste trend. And the earlier we realize, the better. And I think we realize that, but we just don't want to make it a public dialogue of it. Because then the reality will come out. The bare bones from the closet will have to be brought out. But that's what we need to do. If you need to be a human, we need to be nakedness. The nakedness of our attitude needs to be front. Unless we are willing to do that, to have that courage, we will suffer in common, in unity. Right now, the consensus amongst us is that caste was a thing of the past. It is not as strict as it was in the past. In the past, the caste had a different reason, and now it has been politicized. The politicians have made that caste remains alive. Caste doesn't exist in our society. It is only the few people who are exercising this caste. Caste would have gone long ago had there been no reservation. Caste had the relevance for people to be organized, and it was a good institution. These are the kind of reactions you will see across various boards, And then one is to understand, it's almost like an amoeba. Wherever you put it, it will adjust to it, and then it will spread. It will not die, And when I give reference to amoeba, we all know amoeba was one of the first living organisms on this planet. And I think caste is that kind of phenomena that is existing amongst us, changing its form, but still surviving. You try to tackle it, it will still come back. It's almost like a a powerful alien, which nothing can kill, will still be alive. These kind of excuses when people give or try to get away from discomfort, what they essentially do is they try to withdraw the humanity of the people who are striving for a dignity. When you defend something that is indefensible, you try to mock the people who are fighting for justice. And I think that's a grave exploitance. It's almost, let's say, if a person who is physically handicapped comes into this place and talks about his or her experience of being a physically handicapped. If one of us says, no, this problem doesn't exist, and the physically handicapped person is sitting right there, talking about his or her experiences or what it means, there is no elevators that are, physically challenged friendly and all that. When we deny that, we are actually mocking the person's struggle and also telling the person that you don't deserve to live amongst us, even though the person exists among us. This is what we do when we engage with the question of caste. We tell the people that you don't deserve to live amongst us. Your reality is not true. It is not complete. You cannot own your own narrative. Your story is not your own. You are exaggerating about it. It must be somewhere, there must be some atrocities here and there. Why do you need to tell it often and often? This is the kind of examples people give. And when they are giving this, when they are doing this, they don't realize that caste is affecting you too. And because it is affecting you too, you don't know to deal with it. By saying, and religion used it. We use religion even to continue. Even today, Dalits are continuing to be barred from entering temples, the place of worship. And these are the people who donate money, whatever money they make in their farms, working as a landless laborers or doing any odd jobs. They have immense faith. They go and they donate, but they are not allowed to come, and they are only allowed to come on certain days. This is the kind of hypocrisy we have developed in our society. So the struggle against caste has to be led by everyone. We need to identify ourselves as victims as well as the perpetrators of caste oppression. We play both parts, and the earlier we realize, the better for us.